So let's talk about a gacha game that is quite weird. A 2.5-year-old gacha game from a small South Korean indie studio, hitting over 115,000 concurrent players on Steam in 2025, placing it alongside Call of Duty and make a break in terms of player peak counts. Crazy, man. Over 93,000 reviews on Steam, sitting at a very positive reviews, and it is Limbus Company. This is Project Moon's third game in what fans call the Parasitism universe and their first mobile title, and it did not get here by being normal, by being for everyone, and by being a kid's game. So let's talk about it and why this game is the most popular gacha game on Steam. Before anything else, you need to understand the setting because it shapes literally everything else in this game. The city is a massive urban complex where mega corporations runs the show, criminal syndicates are everywhere, and life itself is treated like a business transaction. That is reversible if you are rich enough. The poor live in the lower levels called the back streets, where the rules are whatever the nearest corporation decides today. Kids are raised inside massive company-owned facilities, entire districts get sealed off and forgotten if they stop making money. The world isn't subtle about what it's going after, it's basically capitalism pushed all the way to its ugliest possible endpoint. And Project Moon has been building this world across 3 games now. Every new thing you learn makes the stuff you already knew feel heavier, and then there's how dark it actually gets. This isn't just dark in the way where characters have brooding haircuts and everything looks grey. No, it's not. The game goes after real stuff, the cost of doing good in a broken world, what happens to regular people when systems fail them, what it means to survive in a place that doesn't care if you do. And man, the story doesn't try to make any of it feel okay, because it isn't okay. And that's the point of the story in this game. If you have played Lobotomy Corporation or Library of Ruin, this continues that universe and pays off a lot of what those games set up. But if you haven't, you will be fine. Don't get discouraged because you don't play the first and the second game. Even for me, I don't play the first and the second game, but I still enjoyed this game. And here is why. First, it has to be the characters in this game. The 12 sinners are each based on literally classics, not loosely inspired by, actually built from them in ways that pay off whether you have read the source material or not. For example, the main character, actually not the main character, but the most iconic character in this game, Yi-sung, comes from a real Korean poet, and their 1936 short story Wings. Gregor is straight out of Kafka's Metamorphosis. Ryoshu is pulled from Hellscreen by Ryonosuke. Heathcliff is from Wuthering Heights. Ismail is from Moby Dick, and so on and so on. You get the gist, right? This is what Project Moon does with these references is genuinely clever. They're not just name drops to look smart. Each Sinners has personality, damage, and personal arc actually reflects and twists the core ideas of their sourcebook. Gregor, from a story about a man who turns into a bug and gets abandoned by his family, is someone whose body changes against his will and who carries quiet shame about it. The references is deep and the game rewards you for catching them. It is really good. And these aren't just units you pull from a banner. They are actually characters with history, regret, and things they haven't told you yet. You learn about them slowly through small dialogue moments, although it can drag out sometimes, but it is really good. And you also learn them by memory sequences, conversations on the bus. You get their personality because how the way they talk, how the way they feel, how the way the characters talk to Dante, the main character in this game, the protagonist. And then a chapter happens that completely reframes someone you thought you understood, and it hits really, really hard. And that's what makes it work. The Sinners take something huge and horrible in concept and make it feel real on a human level. It is really clever. You will care about them. You will want to know more about them. And this is one of the main reasons why Limbus Company is really interesting. Let's talk about Dante and the story and the tone of this game, because I know what you're thinking. Dante is an amnesiac main character, same like any other gacha games, but this one is completely completely different, and I gotta say, man, it is so well executed. So the game opens with Dante cornered in the middle of nowhere, about to be executed by a mysterious group hunting him down. And his response? He erases his own memory and replaces his literal head with the fucking clock. Not waking up like with no memories, not getting hit on the head. He chose this, so basically he done this to himself. I don't know what to say. It's crazy interesting, right? And yeah, that is your main character, and that's the opening scene. Insane. And just by that opening scene, you will be interested in this game alone. And right after that, he gets rescued by the Limbus Company bus department, who inform him of his new role as the new executive manager of their own team. But he has no idea who he is, no idea why people were hunting him down, and he is now in charge of 12 strangers or sinners. Now let's talk about the bus for a moment, because the bus is its own thing. Mephistopheles is the name of the vehicle the whole team travels on through the city, built specifically for this department. It's not just a bus, it's a home base. It's where the sinners argue, decompress, and slowly start to trust each other. And driving it is Kairon, and she calls her bus her best friend, refuses to learn how to use a map, and navigates entirely on instinct. She says things like vroom vroom and shimmy shaky. Oh my god, even the bus driver has personality more than the main character of any other gacha games. And like I said, Kairon is actually a reference to the ferryman of the dead in Greek mythology, the one who guides souls down into the underworld, which, given that the whole setup is a nod to Dante's Inferno, makes complete sense. And then there's Virgilius, the guide of the group, a cold, gray-skinned man who, with red, glowing eyes and a visible scar across his face, who introduces himself as, "I am the man who must be a guide to your journey." He named after the Roman poet Virgil, who in the original poem is the one who guides Dante through hell. He does not fight, he does not get involved, he gives directions and occasionally disciplines the sinners when they act up. Physically, if he has to. He clearly has a history he's not sharing, and the game takes a very long time before it starts explaining what that history actually is. Now, the sinners themselves, each one of them join Limbus Company under a contract, and each contract comes with a personal wish that the company has promised to grant once the mission is done. The golden bows, man. The artifacts they are hunting across the ruined Lobotomy Corporation's facilities have a strange property where they pull out the memories and traumas of whoever gets close to them. So every dungeon the team descends into becomes a confrontation with one sinner's past, whether they wanted it or not. The sinners were specifically recruited because of their ability to resonate with Dante's clock. It means every person on this bus was chosen on purpose. Someone picked them. Someone knew exactly who they were and what they carried, and the game takes its time revealing what that actually means. So there is a mystery behind all of that, and I think that is really interesting. Now let's go back to Dante. Here's the thing that makes it work where every other amnesiac protagonist fails. Dante actually has personality, and it's not the one that you would expect. Dante is genuinely a bit of like a pushover. He is the manager of the 12 dangerous sinners, and sinners are basically traumatized people, and his default response to any of them ignoring him, and he can make jokes to lighten up the mood that almost nobody laughs at, and he asks basic questions about the world around him that usually gets cryptic non-answers that he just accepts, because what else is he going to do? He's not in charge in any practical sense for a long time, and he kinda knows that. But here's the thing that makes this story interesting, basically Dante interesting than annoying. Because of the amnesia, Dante has no idea what the city is, what like corporations do. He gets genuinely angry when he sees injustice. He tries to comfort sinners when their trauma surface, even when it's kinda awkward, even when they push him away. In a world where caring about other people is considered a character flaw, Dante just does it anyway. Not heroically, Dante is not a hero by any means, okay? And not dramatically either, just quietly and consistently in a way that the sinners slowly start to notice. Before the amnesia though, the hints paint a completely different picture. Foss implies Dante wasn't the type to value other people's life very much. The people hunting him in the prologue talk about him like he was someone really dangerous, basically like a boss. So the version of Dante you are traveling with, this awkward, self-depreciating, bad joke-making pushover, might be almost the exact opposite who he actually was, and neither he nor you knows which version is the real one. I mean, he grows into it over time, slowly earns real respects from the sinners, goes from someone who can't get anyone to listen to him in Canto 1 to someone actively guiding and anchoring people by Canto 5. By the way guys, Canto, again, it is the chapters of this story. So basically Canto 1 is chapter 1, Canto 5 is chapter 5. It is a proper arc, not a sudden power-up, and it hits differently because you watch every awkward step of it, because I mean, Dante is a really interesting character. Oh, and one more thing, Dante speaks entirely in clock sounds like ticking, chiming, the occasional sound of a train horn or cash register when he is surprised or angry. Only the sinners can understand him. Everyone else just hears a clock, and somehow, across hundreds of pages of dialogue where your protagonist is literally making clock noises, you end up knowing exactly who he is. I think that is the definition of a really good writing. His ability turning back the clock to revive sinners from death comes at a cost. Every time he does it, he feels exactly how the sinner died. He experiences the pain directly every single time. But he does it anyway, repeatedly, without making a big deal out of it. And that one detail tells you more about who Dante actually is than 100 lines of dialogue could. So they are making action speaks more than words. The clock hands on his face move forward after major story events. Nobody explains what it means though, it just happens, and the game trusts you to sit with that and feel the weight of it without spelling it out. The amnesia in Limbus Company isn't a lazy shortcut to make you feel like you are Dante, you are the hero of the story, but it is actually the story. It is the question the whole game is built around, and the answer, when it starts coming, hits completely good because of how long and how carefully the game made you wait for it. The tone itself takes some adjustment on top of all of that. This isn't a game that gives you a heads up before things get heavy, deep. I mean, in this game, it is so dark that people get eaten, characters get broken down into ways the story just lets sit there. The actual color palette of the narrative art shifts across chapters as the sinners' relationships develop, and that contrast makes the dark moments land even harder when they come. And I gotta tell you, you will be enjoying the shit out of this game, the story. But one thing that I kinda hate is that Canto 1 and Canto 2 are kinda rough. The story in that chapter moves really slowly, and there's a lot of lore being thrown at you without much emotional reward for sitting through it. So it's kind of like a filler, if you could say like that. And a lot of players quit here, which is a real shame, because in Canto 3 is where the game stops warming up and starts actually going. From there, it becomes one of the best stories you will ever find in the gacha genre, and guys, I'm not saying this lightly. And guys, if I have to give points for Limbus Company's story, I think it's going to be a 10 out of 10 because the writing in this game is just phenomenal. It is a AAA writing. And of course, we gotta talk about the art, visuals, and audio. I think this is one of my favorite things about this game, and I will die on that hill. The visual approach here uses a technique where the important stuff is lit up bright while everything around it is deliberately dark and kinda shadowy. And what that does in practice is give every piece of character art a kind of weight and focus that most gacha games don't have. So when a big story moment hits, like this CG comes up, and the way it's framed is doing actual storytelling work. The lighting, the angles, the way backgrounds fade out to keep your eyes on the character, none of that is accidental. Someone made real decisions here, and those decisions were right. The designs for individual units and the higher tier ego I love how the ego art gets progressively more unhinged as you go up the rarity tiers. In a way that actually makes sense, given what egos represents in the story. They're supposed to look like something went very wrong, and they do. It works really well with this kind of vibe. Now the art transition, this is the thing that I generally don't love talking about, because the original CG artist Belmori had a style that felt very personal and expressive in close character moments. The newer direction under Naiga is more consistent with the rest of the game's visual identity and does big dramatic scenes better. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't notice the difference in how certain emotional moments land compared to the early chapters. It's not worse, it's just different, you know? So just things to keep in mind. What I absolutely do not like, I don't want to say hate, and I will never defend this, is the UI. The art team, whoever designed the menus, are clearly not on speaking terms. It's menus inside menus with labels that assume you already know what they are for. Every time I have to find the dispenser, I feel like I'm solving a fucking puzzle I didn't agree to. So yeah, it's kind of bad on the UI. So I hope they revamped it, but if you're speaking from the theme of the game, I think it works really well. But I do love when you click like the story, when you want to go to story, it has this like gearing, you know, like the banner is like going down or whatnot. So I do like that. Now let's talk about the audio, because this deserves its own moment. And holy shit, the OST goes way too good for a mobile game. And that's not me being hyped. That's the honest reaction for most people have, and the music really hits. The combat sound design alone, man, the clash of the coins, the crack of skills connecting, the way the audio layers build as a fight escalates is satisfying as hell. It's so fucking satisfying in a way that makes even routine fights feel like they have weight. Every hit sounds like it means something. It's the kind of sound design where you would actually turn the volume up instead of muting it like every other gacha game on the market and you just AFK farm. The battle themes were handled by Studio EIM, and the main boss of the title music were composed by indie band Millie. And if you don't know who Millie is, just listen to her music. Every OSTs in this game works so well with all the themes when they are fighting bosses, when they are fighting this and that, when they are traumatized, when they are happy, when they are making a joke. Everything is just so spot on. I mean, the audio in Limbus Company isn't just a good background noise, it's part of how the game tells its story. Without a good audio, I mean OSTs or background music, I think this game is not going to be very engaging to the viewers, to the audience, to the players. So gotta give them credit for the audio, man. It is amazing. Hands down one of the best OSTs in any games. Comparing this to like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Rebirth 1999, this is surely one of the best.
잘 풀린 것 같습니다.
So for the combat, I have a complicated relationship with this one, because in one way I really like it because it is something different, it is something new, but in another way it is quite frustrating. So let me explain why. The system runs on a dice and coin flips. Each skill has coins. Coins go up against enemies. Higher number wins. It is super basic, right? You build your team around 7 types tied to the 7 deadly sins: wraith, lust, sloth, gluttony, gloom, pride, and envy. But it is quite hard, so people in the community just say it's red, purple, yellow, and so on and so on. And you stack effects like bleed, burn, and tremor that build up across turns and chain off each other when the team is built right. I'm looking at you, bleed team. It's really popular and it's way too easy for the game. And when it all comes together, I genuinely love it. There's something really satisfying about building the bleed team that just tears through a boss before they even get a real turn, knowing that every character you pick was feeding into that one outcome. You are not just picking the highest numbers and hoping for the best, you are building something with internal logic where one character feeds into the next, where the status effects stack into each other, where the win conditions is something you actually design. That feeling when a well-built team just executes really well, holy shit, man. Oh my god, I even got goosebumps, man, when thinking about it, because it is just way too satisfying. I think the depth of the team building here is something gets seriously undersold in how people talk about this game. I mean, every sinner has multiple identities, different version of themselves with different kits, different sin affinities, different status effect focuses. So building a team isn't just picking your 5 favorite characters, it's picking the right version of the right character for the right role in a setup that you are deliberately constructing. A Rodion ID that applies bleed pairs differently than one that focuses on poise. A Heathcliff build around burn needs different support than one built around raw clash power. The combinations are genuinely wide, and the game rewards you for experimenting. The combinations are genuinely wide, and the game rewards you for experimenting with them. And when the number goes up, it is really satisfying. I know you all like big numbers, but this game doesn't have really big numbers like in most gacha games. So I don't know, but it is still pretty satisfying. Egos add another layer on top of that. These are abilities your sinners can activate, but they cost resources and have their own sin affinity requirements. It adds a resource management side to fights that would otherwise just be about clashing numbers. But here's the thing I cannot just move past. The coin flips are random, actually random, in a way that sometimes just decides a fight without caring what you did. Yeah, I've had runs where I played it well, built the right team, made the right calls, and still got completely destroyed because the numbers said so. I think this game has more RNG in the gameplay department than the gacha itself, and I'm not even joking. So yeah, that is probably my frustration into the gameplay. I mean, that is a design choice by Project Moon that hasn't been fully resolved, but I think the community kind of like enjoys it in a way right about now, because honestly I kinda too, and in all honesty you just hit the win rate button and you're good to go. It's kind of like a joke at this point, like just press win rate and then you're gonna win the battle. Ha ha ha, coin flips doesn't even matter, everything doesn't even matter. But again, building a well-built team really helps a lot in progressing through the game. One of the features again is the sanity mechanic, which tracks your team's mood and is supposed to make fights feel like a mental back and forth. It is quite interesting. High sanity means better coin outcomes, low sanity means your team starts crumbling under pressure. On paper, that would make every fight feel like a psychological push and pull. In practice, the mobile format fight length just doesn't give it enough time to develop into anything meaningful before the fight ends. I feel like this is such a good mechanic to the game, it adds layers to the combat, and hopefully they're gonna make some good changes to the combat, emphasizing on the sanity mechanic and how the coin flip works. Maybe, I don't know, man. And the tutorial in this game is completely useless. It will not prepare you for the actual game. You will be watching YouTube by Kanto 3, you're gonna be like watching guides and everything to build a bleed team, to build a burning team. This game is hard. They literally do not tell you what it does. You really have to manually read the description of all the skills that all the sinners have, and again, each sinners have different IDs. So yeah, that's probably my only complaint about the gameplay, but I do kind of enjoy it because it is something unique. It is something well built. It is something new. It is not as, it is not just a classic turn-based gacha game. So, is this game free-to-play friendly? And not gonna lie, this is one of the better free-to-play game I've come across. And I say that as someone who have sat through enough predatory gacha, who have played enough gacha games from the Summoners War era, from the Brave Frontier era, and yeah, this game is really free-to-play friendly. And what I really appreciate is the dispenser system. Being able to craft past season units directly using shards instead of re-rolls and whatnot. And I think this is the kind of feature that should be a standard in all gacha games. It means your progress as a free-to-play player doesn't just disappear when a banner ends. That's a bigger deal than it might sound. But on the downside, this game has no hard pity, this game has no soft pity, but the rates of the summons is really high. I mean, I've pulled a couple of times and I actually get what I want. And I don't have a hard time getting the characters, and it's not frustrating in a way because the rates are high, the game is generous, you know, and you can craft past season units. So I don't know, man, I think it's pretty generous. The Limbus Pass is also worth calling out, specifically because it's almost embarrassingly good value compared to what other games charge. If you are going to spend anything on this, spend it here. Guys, look, I've never told you to spend any money on a gacha game, but this one is really good, and I think it's really worth every penny, like Reverse 1999. But here's what I don't like about the game. The XP grind is quite a problem, and I think the game knows it and just hasn't fixed it. I mean, running Luxcavation over and over and over. I mean, Luxcavation is the dungeon, the XP dungeon, yeah. So yeah, running it over and over to keep your team at the right level for story content is repetitive in a way that feels like it's just eating your time rather than giving you anything worth having. I think this is like the most obvious lazy mobile gacha design in a game that otherwise tries to be better than that, and it sticks out every single time. Look, I'm saying this as a beginner player because once you get through all the story, once you get through more dungeons, I think it's not going to be a problem. And speaking of problems, this game is not perfect, and I have to be honest, and let's be straight about what actually holds this game back, because some of it is bad enough to cost Project Moon real players. Exactly! The new player experience is probably the single biggest issue in the whole game. No prior Project Moon knowledge is technically required, but the story assumes that you are familiar with the world, and it never really explains. Names and terms get dropped without context. Things land with real weight for players who came from the earlier games, and as confusing noise for people who didn't. The gap between someone starting fresh and someone who finished Library of Ruina is massive, and the game makes almost no effort to close it. You are expected to either already know or go figure out by yourself. And yeah, I experienced this myself. Really hate it. I really hope they gonna give us more context in like chapter 1, 2, 3. And yeah, Kanto 4 also has a pacing problem I cannot ignore. The middle section drags in a way that feels like the story lost track of where it was going for a few hours before finding itself again. I mean, it does recover, but there's a stretch in there that has genuinely put people to sleep. And yeah, I can understand that completely. The XP grind, like I said, and resource grind, it gets more annoying the longer you play. Keeping your team at the right level for story content you actually want to do requires running the same maps repeatedly for no reason other than hitting big numbers. I mean, it's not fun. I mean, most gacha games do this, but in this game, the new player experience is just horrible, man. I mean, XP dungeon grinding wise. Because you want to progress through the story, because this game is so good in the story department, but you just cannot progress because you are stuck in that level, and you have to grind the Luxcavation, and the Luxcavation doesn't give you a lot of this XP tickets. I really hate it. Okay, the shard economy without the pass is kind of slow for getting that older units, and can start to feel like a second job if you grind it daily. Limited event units from past seasons can feel like they are permanently out of reach if you didn't have currency saved before the banner event went live. Project Moon has made this better over time, but it is still a problem. But I gotta give them credit, right? It is better, and this is a personal one, but I wish this game had English voice acting. I mean, Reverse 1999 pulled it off, and it made a massive difference in how the story hit, especially for players who aren't reading every single line at full attention. I mean, Limbus has an incredible cast of characters with distinct personalities, and actually hearing them speak in a language you don't have to translate would make a whole great experience, and even better, right? I mean, the emotional storytelling will land harder, the context will be more, I don't know, like understandable. I'm not saying that the Korean and the Japanese voice acting isn't great, alright? They are so good. Imagine if this game has English voice acting. I mean, it's going to be phenomenal, right? I think it's going to make new players stick around for longer. And I feel like it's a really missed opportunity, especially for a game that puts this much weight on its story. So that's it, man. That's my hardest complaint, that this game has no English voice acting. But none of these are reasons to skip the game. But several of them are fixable and haven't been fixed. Hopefully they're gonna be fixed. And you should still play this game. It is phenomenal. Push through it, okay? And you will have a very good time. The final verdict of this game. Limbus Company is a gacha game made by people who clearly wanted to make something else. It's a 2.5-year-old title that hit the Steam top 40 in 2025 and keeps pulling in new players almost entirely through word of mouth and story quality, which is generally not how this genre is supposed to work. The story is dark in ways that actually matter. The characters are built on real literature and treated with actual respect rather than just used as window dressing. The art is gorgeous, there's no doubt about it. The audio is some of the best in any games. The combat has real depth when it clicks, and the free-to-play model, for all its problems, is more honest than most of what is out there. I know for new player experience is kinda meh. The XP grind is a drag, the UI will frustrate you, and Kanto 4 will test your patience. So I mean, it's kinda good and bad at the same time, right? But I kid you not, this game is worth playing, and trust me, I think you will have a ton of fun and have an enjoyable experience, and probably even more fun in the long run. So play this game, it is very good. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know I haven't been uploading since 2 weeks because I had my dental implants, and it kind of hurts to talk, and it kind of I don't want to say it hurts, but it feels very uncomfortable and hurts probably just a little bit. So that is why, and yeah, I'm just resting, playing games, and right now I feel better, so I can make this video doing voiceover and talking to you guys again. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.